Okay. Okay. Perfect. We will. How is everybody doing? Love it. If everybody wants to put in the chat box your contacts and appointments. You remember those, right, Aubrey? How many appointments that you went on? Very cool. So welcome, everybody. Welcome. We're going to get people, we're a little bit early and whatnot. Anybody have any questions that they might want to throw at us? No. Seam. Okay. Nassim, we're going to have to get you a little more cheery, as well as can be expected. This is fun. Avery, welcome, day 2. How exciting. Oh, you're on mute.
Thanks. Yeah, super exciting. Glad to be here.
Awesome. What is this your second Ignite or just second day in real estate?
Second Ignite and second day.
And second day.
Yeah.
Wow. Congrats.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks.
awesome.
Yeah, jumping right in.
And if we can add, if you've got just your name, so like Julie, for attendance purposes, can you add your last name or tell me your last name? So I want to make sure that there's not more than one. Here we go.
It's Mayers, M-A-Y-E-R-S.
M-A-Y-E-R. Perfect. And how do we do on contacts? Got,
Me?
yeah,
So I added 3 contacts and I got 2 referral partners and no appointments yet, but they will come.
exactly. And how many referral partners?
2.
2. This is good. You see how they're all working with referral partners, Aubrey? That's a good way to go, isn't it?
Can you guys hear her voice okay?
Yes.
Oh,
There we
that's
go. A little bit. It went better.
Got it.
So,
Oh, I just want to see if it was just me.
Naseem, I'm really happy that Don't Be a Secret Agent resonated with you. We're here to help people, and the more people we talk to, the more people we get to help. And really, it's that help, and when we come from contribution that fills our heart and helps us wake up the next day to do it all over again. What do you consider a listing or referral partner? That's going to be people that you work with, a reciprocal business, whether it's a lender, whether it's a contractor. So many people in business that you can work with. The most obvious is lending, but I would tell you we can find ways to work with a lot of different people. What's that? Yeah, that's going to be part. That's going to be going over in the class. No, not really.
I'm going to sign in and sign back out.
Okay. Okay. Jessica, welcome. Okay. So people are scrolling in. If you can, just put in the comments how many contacts you made. And uh-oh. Okay. Yeah, whatever no. We're not going to hit that button. I hit that button on Monday and it ended the meeting for all. So yes, that was me. Just tell them, I wouldn't say that you're a new agent. I would say that you're an agent, and really looking for referral partners. Ultimately, I would tell you when you're first in the business and you find somebody that you can trust that's going to get your business to the level where your clients don't have any surprises, that's probably the most important thing. And they'll educate, and they're willing to teach you along the way, and kind of help you through it. My first referral partner in lending was strictly because he was in-house and I knew there was going to be no surprises.
Matt, I just want to make sure you can hear me better now.
Oh,
Yep,
yes.
absolutely 100%.
Much better.
Thank you.
Is this where your husband would argue the other way was better?
Yes, yes, he would. 20 years of marriage. Fantastical.
I'm at 22. I'm at 20 also.
Your wife is also a saint, let's be honest.
What's up with me?
Heather is a saint.
I walk into a room and I just tell everybody I'm a good salesman because of who I married.
There you go.
And that works every time.
I'm sure she likes that.
So and then we got Julie, Jeff. Welcome, Jeff. And well, let's kind of get started. I want to make sure that everybody's in. Oh, there's another one. I love this waiting room. And we'll give people a couple more minutes. I'm going to track everybody, and then I'm going to introduce our instructor for today. No, you don't have to. You're not stuck with me. But at the same time, I would tell you, Aubrey is 100% amazing at what she's done with her business. And to watch her, I have the privilege that I get to watch her work on a daily basis. I'm also in the ALC with her. So growth patterns are completely on the path, but she's one from a distance, not really from a distance. She's awesome. So I'm excited that she wanted to teach this class, and I'm excited that she's here. Be prepared to take some notes. She's 100% amazing, and feel free. She's an original New Yorker. And maybe a tape recorder is better to put up to the screen because she talks fast, but at the same time.
I do. I make no excuses. I make no excuses. Can I make a request that, and I don't know if you usually do this or not, but I would love if people would turn on their video. It's really hard to teach, and there's a lot of kind of conversations that are going to be happening here, and it's hard to do if you're all offline with your video. So I would love that, and that way I can see who I'm talking to.
Even if we're biting our sandwich.
Yeah.
That's totally cool. I have 3 young kids. No judgment here. We're good.
And I would also, if you can, put in some of you are joining just now, but put in your contact information, how many people you talked to, how many appointments you went on, and who's got. Aubrey, before I let you start, I want to. Do we have 3 good things that's happened since the last Ignite, since Monday? Who wants to share something that's good?
I'll share one.
Okay.
So the most calls I've made so far was last Friday, like 15. And I had from that session, I don't know, it was like an hour and a half or 2. I don't know what it was. One lady that's well connected in the community has confirmed that she'll kind of be a partner and help me as much as she can. Another person I'm supposed to have a meeting with, but he hasn't confirmed yet, but it'll probably be today or tomorrow. And then a third person that works at Bank of America, and they have mortgage banking there, of course, also wants to meet on Friday and said he's buying a house next year. So that was cool.
Very cool.
It was well worth those first 15 calls, and it felt really good. But then it just makes me want to do more, So
very cool.
I haven't been able to do any yet today because I've been helping my mother-in-law, but I'll try to get this on this afternoon. So that was kind of fun.
Who else? All right, I'll go. So I got to teach scripts this morning, and we took TMOs and went back in our area, in the Beaverton and Lower area, and went back to the month before the pandemic hit, and realized, and then pulled the numbers from last week to see exactly what's the market done in the last, since the pandemic started. Alan, what'd you learn on the numbers?
I learned that we're actually doing better now. The market's moving.
It's moving, less inventory, higher prices. The average median price went from 430 to 462 in the Beaverton Aloha action.
Is
So
that in Portland?
that's Beaverton Aloha, yeah,
Oh, Beaverton.
yeah. So anyway, there's my one solid thing. So it was good. That was awesome. Need one more.
I can share.
Perfect.
So I have one client that through my team, and we made an offer on the first go round in the first opportunity of looking at houses, and that offer got accepted last week, and then the inspection was not good. And so I was able to terminate that deal successfully with no hard feelings and a good connection with the agent that was the seller's agent. So she felt like we did everything in good and the right way, and it was good. So I was worried about it, and it worked out.
Love it. That's awesome. And take anything away is those things that we're afraid of, hit them head on. Take them out of the worry. Take them out of the worry pile and hit them head on.
And they were able to move on too. So it was all done in kindness and support of each other. So
We talk about in Keller Williams a win-win situation. Yay! Congratulations. That's
I
awesome.
literally just wrote that in chat as you were talking. Oh my gosh, we're so Kellerized.
It's a win-win. So without further ado, here is the talented Aubrey Martin. She's been in business with Keller 3 years, 3+.
No, with Keller since just a little over 2.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we're right on the same path.
Mhm.
I just
Yeah.
celebrated too. So tell them a little about yourself, and let's move on. So I'm going to be quiet now.
First of all, I would love, before I get started, if you would put in the chat which market center you're with. That would be great, because I know that we're from different areas, and it would help me sort of frame out a little bit about what we're going to talk about. I'm from Sunset Corridor, along with Matt in the Beaverton, Hillsborough area. We got, okay, so you got, yep, Sunset. But Alan, I know you don't live in the area, but I know you're at Sunset. Central Oregon, Eugene, Springfield, great. So you guys are all Eugene and Sunset, fabulous. Okay. All right, give me 1 second here. Okay, everybody can hear me okay? Thumbs up. All right, so you can totally have yourself, oh, Salem too. You can totally have yourselves off of mute if you have no background noise. You'll find that the way that I instruct is more of a collaboration and seminar and less of a lecture because that's really boring, or I have found it to be boring. So if you want to take off your microphone, please do. And I really don't stand on ceremony here. So if while I'm talking about something, if you have questions, just put something in chat, or you can certainly interrupt if it seems like it's a good place. But this is really the place for you to ask a lot of questions.
And I will watch the chat also.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just have to figure out how to, give me 1 second here. I'm going to change my gallery view. Okay. Matt, do you want to, am I also, I'm a co-host, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out how I can be on the screen on, like, I see you on the big screen. Is there a way to
Me?
do that while I'm talking? Yeah. Yet. don't know.
Let me see.
It's okay if not. I can just get started. It's okay.
Can you guys hear her? Can you see her when she talks?
Yeah.
When she talks, Aubrey, when you talk, you're on the big screen for us.
Okay. Thanks, Jenny. Nice to see your face, by the way. Okay. Yes, let me tell you a little bit about sort of how I got to where I am, because you will find that the theme of this is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, that there is no secret sauce. There is no magic bean. And I'm going to tell you a little bit how I got from A to B. I started over at another brokerage locally in Beaverton, and I had lived here. I live in Bethany, which is in sort of the northern western part of Northwest Portland. But I had been away from Bethany for about 16 years. So I had zero sphere here. All my friends from college had moved away. I am from New York City originally, as Matt mentioned, but my husband is from here and I went to college in the Northwest and that's where I met him. And so we settled in Bethany in around 2002. And yeah, it was totally different than it is now. There was a lot of farms and cows and nobody had ever even heard of Bethany before. And then we moved back east for a number of years where I owned pet supply stores with my husband. So we did a lot of education, nutritional counseling. I talked a lot about the texture of cat poop. It was not particularly glamorous, but it is what it is. And the reason we came back west is because my oldest son is actually through adoption. He's from India. And there's not a huge Indian population or people of color in Maine. And we remembered that in Bethany, due in large part, of course, to just the international population at Nike and Intel, that there was. So we came back here really just starting over. And I started at a regional brokerage, which was great. And I did get some education there. The thing about that place, though, was that I did 13 transactions my first year, which I think is pretty decent for a new agent, but I had no frame of reference really either. So I had no idea how I had done what I had done, nor did I know how to go on to the next step, nor did I know anything about databases or contacts or really anything, because I was sort of left to my own devices. And then I have a friend, her name is Dar Rogers, and she's at Sunset Corridor. And I knew her from school, from our kids going to the same school. And I asked her about how she liked Keller Williams. And of course, that just started a whole conversation with Leslie Hilbert, who is currently our interim team lead. And they invited me to Mega Camp, which is this big hoorah down in Texas. I have never been to Texas, but I can tell you that my hair was wild in Texas. Like my hair was like, but the other thing that was wild was Mega Camp, because all of the things that I wasn't really getting from the old brokerage, I really got at Mega Camp, this idea of collaboration and this idea of camaraderie and education. And this is not a commercial for Keller Williams, I promise you. But I'm just telling you, this is why I came over, is I finally started to get an idea of how I could build my business. Because where I was before, we were just left to our own devices. So when I joined Keller Williams was in September of 2018. And I actually joined a team. And Leslie at the time said, like, there is nothing about you that screams team, like nothing. And I was like, no, it's okay. I think I can learn. I was new to Keller Williams. I didn't understand any of the acronyms. There are so many acronyms for those of you who are just starting here. I still don't know them all. And what I realized pretty early on is that, as usual, which you will learn too if you're at Sunset Corridor, that Leslie is always right. So I became a solo agent about 6 months after I joined Keller Williams. Last year, so in 2019, I did 45 transactions, and this year I'm on track to do 70. I'm currently at 53. I've got 5 in escrow, 2 new listings coming up this week. So I'll hit at least 65, maybe 70. And I tell you that for 2 reasons. Number one is I'm a solo agent. I don't manage a team. And the other thing is that I got licensed in July of 2017. So I'm 3 years and change into it. So all of that background to tell you that what I'm about to share with you is not something that happened because I grew up here and that I had all these contacts, or that I've done something that's like remarkable. What I've done is I've taken the trainings. I go to Bold whenever it's offered. I'm actually, at this point, I'm teaching Bold. I'm featured guest in Bold tomorrow, and I've taught now. This is my 6th time teaching Bold. I take whatever classes come up. You'll see me in classes that come from Title, that are continuing education classes, because the most important thing about real estate is you need to be educated about what's happening in the market, especially in this market. And my jam are the numbers. Matt talks about TMOs, like TMOs, I can do the hot sheets from MLS so that I can tell you how many went pending yesterday in this area, what the list to sales price ratio was, what the average days on market is. If you want to be head of the game, you need to be the source of information. And this is mostly what we're going to be talking about today, is how do you throw a rock in any direction, you're going to hit 25,000 agents, right? There are a lot of people getting out of the industry in real estate, but there's a lot of people joining it as well. So how do you set yourself apart from other agents while still maintaining that collaborative piece? I loved what Elizabeth said about her transaction with the other agent. It's real estate's weird, right? It's collaborative and it's also competitive, but I don't look at it as competitive. As Matt said, is one of my greatest assets from day one is looking at this as coming from a place of contribution and service. And Keller Williams has just sort of expanded on that. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I built my business and where we go from here. And as I said, if you have questions along the way, please feel free. Oh, Tina, I'm glad that you're in Bold now. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see you tomorrow.
Do the top 5 types of information that you look every day. So the pendings, the average days on market, and what are like the top 5 records you're looking at each day?
It's really the stuff that's part of that TML. And it's also in something called, so if you look in MLS, it's called Hot Sheets. And it's a report in it, and you can actually put in the specifics about the area that you're looking in, the time frame that you're looking in. But what I'm primarily looking at is what is, of course, the months of inventory, how many went active, of those, how many were absorbed, so how many went pending, what is the list to sales price ratio? In other words, are people paying over? Have there been a lot of price changes? Because if we have that information, we are able to really talk to the clients about what's happening. We need to be the source of all things, right? So that's kind of what we'll be talking about that in a little bit. I want to also preface this by saying that I'm a mom. I have 3 children, 7, 10, and 14. So my kids are all, home because, nobody's at school right now. But before all of that, I would drop my kids off at school. I'd go to the gym, I'd come to work, and then I was done at 3 o'clock. And I would pick it up again, usually between 7 and 9, but between 7 o'clock, I was with my children. So know this, that what I'm about to tell you is not going to take 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Please don't do this. You need to time block. Time block is going to be your best friend, because when you're a newer agent, you are going to find this need to be at everybody's beck and call 24 hours a day. And it's not good for you. It's not good for your family. It's not good for your health. And honestly, in the end, it's not good for your clients either. So I set very firm boundaries. And that's really, really important here. So day one, when I started at the other brokerage, which was John L. Scott. It's not a big mystery, right? I mean, Matt knows we started at the same place. It's not a big mystery, and I like them very much, and I'm friends with a lot of them still. And I had a good experience there. It just wasn't a good place for me to grow. One of the things that I have always thought about real estate is that one of our greatest assets is that we are connectors of people. People look to us for information and recommendations because real estate people know everybody. We have contact with a lot of different people. So day one, when I started at John L. Scott, what I decided to do was to start forming this list of trusted professionals, people that I thought would be important for my clients to know about. And the way that I started that is that I joined this group, initially free, called MOB, Mother-Owned Businesses. It doesn't mean that this is a group that you need to belong to. There are plenty of groups, but at the time and still now, the people that I tend to really relate to the most are women in the sort of same stage of life as I am, you know, kind of raising young kids, right? So that was the thing that I gravitated towards. It doesn't mean that that's what you need to do. But this was a group that resonated with me. And this is a group that's based in Oregon. And at the time, of course, we were meeting up locally. And these are women in business. Now, it doesn't mean they do like good business, but they were women theoretically in business, right? So it was a good place to start. So what I started doing was I started going to these meetups. There were just networking meetups and it was very social, but certainly there was a business bent on it. And I started asking these women in to meet at my office for coffee, 25 minutes usually. And the point of this was not for me to sell them on what I was doing. The point was to learn about what they were doing, to see how what they were doing could be beneficial to my clients. And so it became something called the Welcome Home Book. And we are totally going to talk about this because this is going to talk about what Matt is talking about like your trusted resources, your people. This 30-minute coffee conversation turned into this binder that currently has 4 different sections. It's residential services, which would be like your contractors, your cleaners, your hardware, you know, your hardwood installers, like whatever. Professional services. So those would be like your financial planners, your lenders, your accountants, your lawyers, what have you. Food and drink. So restaurants, catering, bakers, whatever. And residential, professional, food and drink, and health and wellness. So massage therapists, naturopaths, whatever. But initially it started like a list. And what was important to me is I wanted to be seen as like, oh, you need this, go talk to Aubrey. Even if they had no interest in real estate. I wanted my friends and their friends to come to me first. And this is how it all began. So now this binder is, it's got about 40 pages in it. And in addition to just putting it into those categories, now a lot of these folks have flyers in my binder as well that have like 15% off carpet cleaning. If you mention Martin Family Real Estate Group, you know, 10% off window cleaning, you know, 15% off window coverings, like whatever they want to do. I don't charge them for it. So it's like whatever they feel like doing, but they give me all of these flyers. This Welcome Home Book goes to every one of my clients. We've got, you know, the sellers, buyers, but also anybody in the community can have it too. I don't pay anything for this. The binders are courtesy of a wonderful rep at Title Escrow. You want to talk about people to connect with first, go find your title reps first, because they want to help you build your business and they will give you so many freebies and help you with websites and all this good stuff. I will tell you right now, like from a computer standpoint, like I'm an idiot, like legit an idiot. My husband is a programmer, so on me it looks particularly ridiculous, but that's where I understand where my negatives and my positives are, the things that I do well and the things that I don't. And I leverage out the stuff that I don't. So you're gonna wanna connect with a couple of title reps and figure out who you really kind of connect with. I have someone who gives me binders, you know, just those school binders, the white ones. And all my only expense for my welcome home book are those plastic sleeves. Do you know the ones that I mean? You put them in a binder and then you put like flyers in them. That's it. This binder is so important for two reasons. Number one is it gives my clients all sorts of resources to use, both before they've bought a home, after they've bought a home, on the way to list their home. And it also, more importantly, advertises the services of people that I know are going to take care of them, people that I know, like, and trust. When I first moved to Bethany, my son made a good friend, and we didn't know where to take our kids for like the dentist or the doctor. So am I Googling? Nah, I'm not doing that. Because what are the best referrals? They're from people who have children who go to this dentist and doctor who they love. And we checked those out, and that's where we've been for the last 4 years. That's what people want from us too. They want referrals of people that we already know, like, and trust. And the other piece of that, and here's where it really gets good, is not only are you sort of the community expert in things now to all of your friends and all of your community, but also you are now letting those contractors know, those restaurateurs know, the naturopaths know that you are actively promoting their business. Who else does that? What other real estate agent is actively promoting their business? The other piece of it as well is that I want to just sort of briefly touch on, and then we'll kind of get back to it. But when I have a listing, and I do the video of the listing, showing people around the house, you know, the quick video, I show people in the video my little placards. These are just, it's paper, it's you know, the cardstock. And I put them on the walls. Jenny's going to see this when she runs my open house on Friday. And it says like cute little things like, you know, I'm staged. Nobody really lives like this. Or like, hey, look, it's a solar tube. Did you know what that is? I didn't either. You know, it's like little look cards around the house. Like, I'm a gas fireplace. Like, I will stay warm in the winter, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But in addition to that, I also am putting placards all around the house of all of the people that I have used from my welcome home book that had something to do with that listing. So who is the cleaner that cleaned that listing? This home was cleaned by Vanessa at Marine Clean. You know, who is it that did all of the repairs to the home to get it ready for listing? This home was just recently, you know, whatever, had contractors in by PDX Aero Painting and Construction. These are all around the house. And when I'm on Facebook, which I'm on a lot, then I'm tagging all of those people that had anything to do with my listing. And when I have a closing, and Matt knows this, I tag everybody that had anything to do with the closing. All of my gifts, my client gifts, are local. I tag them. The wine vendor, the tea vendor, the coffee vendor, everybody, I tag them in the post when I do my, you know, welcome home, Ron and Marisha. Here's all the people that helped. I'm constantly promoting other people's business. I have received in the last year 7 referrals from my contractor for listings. 7. Is it worth it to literally pay nothing except a little bit of time to refer her out? I would say so. So let's talk a little bit about legs of lead generation. When I first started, I did an inordinate amount of open houses. I was like the open house queen. I think I used to do like 16 a month. It was crazy. But when you're new, open houses are great because generally speaking, buyers are easier to get than listing, right? Buyers aren't paying you anything, right? When you're listing, you've got to feel confident, and because they're paying you. It doesn't always happen that way. My first transactions, actually my first 3 were listings, but that was sort of an anomaly. Most of the time it's buyers, and you get them from opens. Well, after the first 1.5 years or so, I got a little burned out on opens. I did mega open houses, music, food. I did themed open houses, right? I would do like, I had one in Orenco. I did like a French jazz theme. So I had like Parisian music and croissants and like mimosas and blah, blah, blah. And then I would promote them. that way as being themed. You know, it was a big deal. But after about a year and a half or so, what I realized was that for me, there were better ways to use my time. Ben Kinney, I don't know if any of you were on the call today. Ben Kinney talked about this too, that when he was in cable sales, that he spent so much time door knocking, and then he realized that he could actually spend a lot less time on the phone and getting better results. Well, that was the same thing for me with opens, is that opens were excellent in the beginning. And then as my business started to pick up, I realized that there were other things that I could do that were better usage of time. So where I started with that really was that networking. Networking for me has been crucial. And I do networking both in business organizations as well as social organizations. If you have stuff in common with people, it's much easier for them to recommend them to their friends because you've already connected with them. Real estate is all about relationships. I got a piece of advice a few years ago, and she said, you know, Aubrey, you get way too involved with clients, way too involved with clients. Like you're too emotionally invested with them. And you know what? That is true with some people, but it is for me the worst piece of advice I've ever gotten. Because the truth is, the reason why I'm going to hit like 70 this year is because of my relationships with these people. I personally, for legs of lead generation, do not do cold calling. I have never cold called. I have never called a for sale by owner. I have never called an expired. I have never door knocked except around open houses that I'm having. It's not my jam. It's incredibly, incredibly successful for other people. And I am absolutely not in any way saying that you shouldn't do it. What I'm saying is you need to find the things, the legs of lead generation that don't make you cringe. You have to do things that you love to do. Well, I'm a connector of people. I'm super chatty. I'm from New York. So Matt says like, right, like I talk a mile a minute. I do. Northwestern people have no idea what to do with me out here, but it has worked for me because the fact is that I am very authentically me. I think Matt knows there is really no BS with me. I'm the culture chair on Leadership Council. And when they told me that, I was like, are you sure? I don't know that that's really the best look for me. I don't have a lot of diplomacy, right? I'm not polished. I don't drive a particularly nice car. Generally speaking, I have something in my hair from something that is like from my kids' food. Like it's true, right? But the thing is that I own it, right? I mean, right, like I'm a mom, like I own it. And I deal with other people that are kind of like me. Maybe I don't talk as fast, but you get the general gist of it. So networking became very powerful for me. And that mother-owned business was a big one, is where I started with that. The other thing I did from a social media standpoint, networking wise, is I joined a lot of these local groups like Beaverton Moms Group. Nothing to do with business, just having to do with community, you know, next door, all of these things. You guys know what I'm talking about, all of these sort of community groups. You know, I connect with people. When I first moved here, I was president of my kids' PTO, which is like the PTA, right? So like I got very involved with school stuff. These people, the contractors that I met, the people through Mob, the financial advisors, the lenders, you know, the people in my kids' school, after school stuff, these all became my database. My database, by the way, in 3 years is now over 1,000 people. And this is all on command, by the way. Everything is through command for me. And who these people are the people that I really just started putting in there. People that I met mostly through social groups. So my first leg of lead generation is networking through social groups. And as an offset to that, I created my own BNI. Does everybody know what a BNI is? Business Networking International. It is a business networking group. The idea of it is that we are networking for business. There is one person per category. So in other words, there's one real estate agent, there's one financial planner, there's one lender, there's one property and casualty insurance person, there's one music school person, there's whatever it is. And the idea of it is that we get to know each other's businesses as well as we know our own. so that again, we can promote each other's businesses when we're out and about. And I know all of these people incredibly well. If someone even like whispers the word health insurance, it's Jackie Walter over at Translating Insurance in Forest Grove, because she's my health insurance partner. I've used her. I know her. I sold her a house. I love her. BNI is something it's very hard for real estate agents to get in because they are one of the core 4 members. They are a founding member. And in order for a real estate spot to open, I mean, they either have to move or die, basically, because real estate agents don't give up that spot. We are connectors of a lot of people, and people connect a lot back to us in BNI. And so I do what I usually do when I don't get my way, which is that I just started my own, which is what I did. I started my own BNI with a lender, with a property and casualty person, and a financial advisor. And then we grew it from there. 75% of the folks in that group have either bought, sold, or referred me a direct referral from that group.
So what was your pitch when you started that group? Who was your first person, and was it a lender? And then what did you do with that lender?
Lender first. I met him through a woman, his girlfriend actually, who was in Mob. And I said, you know, I'm thinking about being in a BNI. BNIs are everywhere. So you can always like pop in to a group and just kind of, you know, sit in on it. You're always welcome to do that as a guest, to make sure that it's like a good fit. And then once I realized that it is a good fit, because I'm very, I don't want to say the word. I'm very purposeful about my business, and so is BNI. So once I did the guest thing for a while, I decided, let me get serious about this and let me start talking to some people who are not already in a BNI. And it's not a hard buy-in. It's $40 a month. It's the same as I'm paying to be in the Alliance group, which is mother-owned businesses of that Mob. They have a paid group, which is smaller and very purposeful. And again, like with real estate agents, like $40 a month, whatever that is, $500 a year. I mean, my gosh, you make that in, you know, like one transaction over and over and over and over again. So yeah, the 4 core are realtor, financial planner, your property and casualty insurance. So that's your like homeowner's insurance, and your lender. And then from there, you just grow and you just find out. And those of you who are friends with me on Facebook, you'll see I post about it all the time. You know, we're looking for, you know, we're looking for an acupuncturist. We're looking for a dog trainer. We're looking for whatever, people to join the group. It's not for everybody. It's very structured, and you have to be accountable. But for me, it has worked incredibly well, because referral is sort of, look, if you look at how much money realtors can spend on getting leads, referrals are basically free. I don't pay for Zillow leads. I don't pay for anything, actually. The thing that they want me to talk about at Bold tomorrow is that my net is 80% of my gross. I'm spending 20%. Now, again, I'm not saying that people who pay for leads, there's anything wrong with that. Not at all. It's just, it doesn't work for me. I need the personal piece of it. And networking through social and business platforms is what works for me. Tina just asked the 4 people in a BNI. The 4 core is financial planner, lender, realtor, and property and casualty. Kari said, do you buy products and service from people in your binder, or you just talk to the business owners? No, I mean, yes, I use them. I refer to them all the time. And before they go in my binder, I'm talking to references that they have first who have used them, if I haven't yet. You know, so no, it's not like I'm just sort of pulling people from a hat, because as I said earlier, just because you're someone in business doesn't necessarily mean like you're a good business. And I'm not going to necessarily refer clients to people that I have no direct knowledge of. So generally I work with them first. And then, you know, once I've had coffee, I work with them, or I refer them to someone who has a good experience with them, and then they go in the book.
Do your due diligence, I would say. And also, Aubrey, I will back. I've never paid for a lead also.
Yeah, it's just not, I think it's, you know, I think, and I don't want to say this in a way that comes across negatively because I don't mean it this way, but there are no shortcuts for doing the work.
And the work is getting in front of people.
The work is getting in front of people, even in COVID. So look, I mean, the fact is like I've sold 45 houses since the beginning of COVID when I couldn't get in front of people. There are other ways. There are ways. Eileen asked, financial planner or CPA? No, like a financial, like a Edward Jones, like a financial planner, not a now a CPA is another seat, but they're not one of the four core.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do they have to be local?
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
Like if you know your favorite financial planner, but they're in Eugene, but they work remotely, is that not qualified for your BSN?
It can be whatever you guys want because you're building it. You're building the group, right? So it can be whatever you want. But keep in mind is that a lot of people right now are going to be working remotely like forever. And in fact, even with BNI, we're not meeting in person. We're meeting via Zoom. But again, like if you're in a community, I guess it would really matter is if the community is, if you're in Eugene and the community that you're talking about is like the financial planners in Salem, how much business can you refer to them in Salem unless, like, it depends on where they want to build their business, right? We're there to build their business. Where do they want to build it?
Yeah.
Right. So does that make sense? My first leg of lead generation after I said like open houses is too much for me is really just the social and business networking, which really then became this welcome home book. That book now I edit several times a week because I'm adding people constantly, or people move away and I'll have to take people out or whatever, but I'm in growth mode with that book right now.
Can I add something real quick, Aubrey?
Sure, yeah, of course.
The other part that I want people to recognize is, and I think part of the lead gen is getting in front of people, but one thing you notice that I've noticed in listening to Aubrey is it's about setting the appointments, getting in front of the people, not talking to them over the phone. It's, hey, getting in front of them, having the coffee, personalizing it, and making it as safe as we can during the pandemic. But that's the biggest thing about lead generation. It's setting appointments.
So the other piece of this too is, and let's talk about lead generation for a minute. I have a MAPS coach. And for those of you who don't know what that is, MAPS is through Keller Williams, and they call you out on all your nonsense. They keep you very accountable. And that was absolutely worth it to me because mine is named Kelly and she's terrific. And one of the things that's really important about getting in front of people is, and she told me this kind of early on during the pandemic, is lead generation doesn't necessarily have to be on the phone or messenger or whatever. I told you that I work 8 hours a day. Well, like tonight at 7:00, I have a mob meetup meeting. Now it's not in person, it's via Zoom. But any chance that we can get, they do breakout rooms, and so that we can chat, like more in smaller groups, and then you can present, you have all of these opportunities. But I use that 1.5 hours. That's part of my lead generation time. This is where people get to know me and where I get to know them. And then from there, we set appointments. I set appointments from these people through these meetings. And it's not, it is coming from a place of service, but I have also closed 33 homes this year that were from mob. 33 houses, from going to an 1.5 hour meetup that I commit to once a week. That's totally separate from BNI. And look, a little over 3 years into it, and referrals from BNI, from my social media groups and from my networking groups are 75% of my business. The rest of it is basically repeat, and my class, which I'm going to talk about next. Social media groups, we haven't talked too much about this, but these are like those Nextdoor or your Beaverton Moms group or like whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just telling you about the groups that I know about because those are the ones that I belong to. So what's great about those folks, the social media, the social groups, these are community groups. These are not people who are purposeful or even have their own business. These are a lot of first-time home buyers though, right? So Matt was talking about like the Beaverton Aloha market, which is area 150. We have rates that are almost like free money. You have 1.1 months of inventory in Portland Metro. You've got incredibly high rent. This is like the trifecta for the first-time home buyer, because we are $10,000 or 10% rather more this year than we were at this time last year. So for those people that were wanting to get a $400,000 house last year at 4%, now that same house, although the percentage is lower, is $440,000, right? So these are like prime people. It doesn't mean their credit is ready. It doesn't mean they're ready at all. Some of these folks are a year or two out. And then from that group came my class. And my class is, now up until this month, it was called Buying a Home During Uncertain Times. But now I'm sort of done with that. And now it's Buying a Home in a Seller's Market, which means get off your booty and like get into the game. But I hold these every month, and I have for about 18 months.
Do you-
And go ahead.
I was going to say, do you prep your clients, whether you're working with buyers? When you're working with buyers, do you prep them on how tough the market is and that they may lose 2 to 3 house sales?
My newest phrase when I teach is set the expectation. And sometimes buyers, honestly, in this market, they're going to have to just experience it for themselves because they think they know better because their uncles, brothers, cousins, whatever, who cares? I am someone who works in data. I follow NAR, the chief economist. His name is Dr. Lawrence Yun, Y-U-N. He will tell you everything that you need to know about real estate financial markets. And he was spot on when the pandemic started. And I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole too much, but I will tell you that from the very beginning, what he said is that real estate is going to stay pretty solid. And the reason for that is that we had the best first quarter in the history of real estate in Portland Metro in the first quarter of 2020. So, and there were no economic indicators showing that we were going into any sort of recession naturally when COVID hit. So the recession that we had was self-induced, and it only sort of hit one piece of, a couple of parts, I would say, of
Service industry.
Of the service industry. And to be honest, those are not generally the people who are often buying houses in our area. These are $500,000 houses, right? Our average price here is, anywhere between, $375,000 and $550,000 in the starter home market, depending on where you are. So, what he said was that, we're now, 11 years into what should have been a 7-year recovery with no indicators of slowing down. And the financial market is not the real estate market. They're different markets. And because we have such low inventory in resale, because we have such low inventory in new home builds as well, we had a very, very steep incline to get back to where we needed to be. And now we're at the lowest amount of inventory that's been in at least 4 years. It's Yun, Y-U-N. I don't have a link to him. You can just Google him, and he has lots of different videos. But at any rate, these are the conversations where you set the expectation with the buyers. And the reason that I'm talking about this is because whenever anybody has a question about real estate in this Beaverton Moms group or any social group that I belong to next door, whether it's something, whatever it is, I am the first one to answer. And because I've now worked with so many people in that group, whenever anybody has a question, people tag me in these questions. So you want to be the resource for all things real estate, or even if it's something that is not directly real estate related, but anything that has to do with things that are residential, right? So what was happening is I was getting so many of these questions, general questions, of people that really weren't ready yet. And you do not want to meet with a buyer who is 2 years out and do a buyer's consult with them. Number one, they are not ready. Number two is it's a huge time suck for you. And the market will be totally different 2 years from now than it is right now. So what I decided to do was, we didn't want to lose those people. We certainly value those people. That's your pipeline. These are the people that you want to stay in touch with. I created this class. And what I did is I funneled all of these people into this class. And when we had them in person, we had anywhere between 20 and 30 people in the chairs. And that was me. I have a very trusted, wonderful lending partner who is also in MOB with me.
Yes, you do.
Then we also partnered with a home warranty company to talk about sort of what home warranties are and what they do and what they cover and what they don't cover. Escrow title as well, and also homeowners insurance. So it's a 2-hour class, and we're covering the whole process from start to finish of what a real estate transaction looks like. The lender is talking about down payment assistance, talking about the different loan programs, talking about all things lending and underwriting and all that. Escrow title talks about what they do. Homeowners insurance and warranty talk about what they do. So that at the end of this class, people felt really empowered to understand the process and go on to the next step. Plus, we offer them a $500 closing cost credit. That's through the lender. And I give people a free home warranty. Or if I'm able to negotiate that with the seller, then I give them a gift card of equal value. And I had someone who closed last month who took my class like 15 months ago. Arturo was asking about DACA. Does DACA prevent loans? You're talking about the Dreamer program? No, that's a totally different subject, but there are some lenders that do DACA loans, yes. They're not as easy to get right now, just because since COVID, they've actually gotten more strict with loans, not more permissive, but DACA loans do definitely still exist.
Can you go back 2 minutes to what you were talking about as far as rewarding those who networked with you, or like first-time buyers or whatnot, as far as like building in their warranty?
That's just for the class. If they take the class successfully, then they get a certificate from the lender for $500 towards closing costs. And then once they close with our team, we'll get them a free home warranty, unless I've been able to negotiate that in with the seller for the seller to cover that, or
Right.
if it's already offered by the seller.
Otherwise, that's something you've partnered up with your lender and figured it out together, like what's in the best interest.
Yeah, I mean, it's a totally separate thing. Like the lender credit just comes from her, and it was my decision about like, well, what do I want to offer people? And that's if they use both of us, if they use our team. So not just me, but it's if they took the class, they took the whole class, they sat there for the whole class, and then they use both of us going forward, whenever that is. There's no expiration. When we transitioned into online with Zoom during COVID, it's great because you can reach a much bigger audience because they're not having to come to Hillsborough to sit in the class, but they do have to be there the whole time. And we do run it the same way. And what's great about that is, so say someone signs in, they have to register, right? They have to register for Zoom. And I put in the fields that I want their address and their phone number and their email. And even if they don't come to the class, like even if they forget or have something else to do, well, now they're in my database. And so now I'll tell them about the next class. And I do, the key to all of this is being consistent. So I do this class every 4 weeks. We have the next one coming up on the 12th. Usually I was doing them on Saturdays, but just like with the open houses, when I found that like after a while it just wasn't working as well anymore, we decided to switch it up and try a Thursday night. And the last time we did Thursday night, it was very, very successful. So now we're going to switch it up and we're going to do Thursday nights for a while. So, we don't dig our heels in, we want to make sure that we're consistent, but, consistently with something that works. But now this is going to be our 19th class. So it takes some time, but I will tell you, the people from the class, when we had in-person classes, it was easier because you could like trap them at the door, but we had about 95% attrition from people who took the class to the people that came to an appointment. Now, maybe they weren't ready yet, but they came to an appointment. They first met with Natalie, who's my lender, met with her first, see where they're at, and then they come to me. Well, with Zoom, it's a little bit more challenging, right? Because they're not right in front of you, but still our class to appointment ratio is still about 75%. And then appointment to signing the buyer's agreement with me is close to 75%. Now, again, they may not be ready right now. Maybe they're ready next year. But you never know. People have surprised me who said that they're not ready till next year. And then all of a sudden they're ready. So The people that were from the social media groups that were just sort of like not necessarily purposeful, those people come to my classes for the most part. And if the class doesn't work for them, then I'm happy to meet with them one-to-one, but they have to talk to the lender first. Because I know like when you're new that you just sort of like want to get an appointment with anybody and just, you know, sit there for an hour and whatever. But you have to realize where your time is most valuable. And it doesn't mean that you don't talk to those people, but the conversation is maybe a 15-minute conversation and not an hour. And it's certainly not a buyer's consult. So those are really the legs of lead generation, right? Was the networking through the business groups, through the social media groups, my class, and let me see if there's another. I think that's basically the three that I really focus on. Now, once I get someone in my database as a new lead, and I will asterisk this by saying that when I have listings, I'm always promoting the open houses through a Facebook paid ad that is part of my service. And I do get leads through command through Facebook. So that technically is a paid lead, although it's very little, but technically it's paid. But anybody that I talk to goes into command. And I don't know if you've talked about this yet, Matt, about the command stuff, but everybody, as soon as they get into command, is tagged with what they are. They're a prospective buyer. They're a prospective seller. They're going to get my newsletter. So I tag newsletter. Everybody gets a newsletter. They are tagged from where they came from. Did they come from the home buyers class? And if they came in through their home buyers class, did they attend? Are they from an open house? Are they from a sign call? Are they from MOB? Are they from B Moms, which is Beaverton Moms Group? Like, where are they from? Because this is where I can track where is the most amount of money well spent. In other words, or my time best spent. And so I tag them and then I put them on a smart plan. And a smart plan is this automatic plan that you put people on based on how you've tagged them. So if it's someone who came in through like my Facebook ad for my listing, then I have a smart plan called Facebook listings. And then we've set them up, and I'm not going to get into this too much, but there's an email that goes out, there's a text that goes out, there's another email, whatever it is, so that there's constant sort of communication. But smart plans do not take the place of actual like following up with your clients. And there's a big difference because I work so much through like referral at this point. It's so easy for me to friend people on Facebook, get to know them, get to know their family and their kids and whatever. And then you become the person who, whenever there's anything real estate related, whether they bought or sold with you yet or not, you become that person. And the amount of contacts that I've gotten and the people who have reached out to me out of like seemingly nowhere, just friends of mine on Facebook that I don't even know that well, but have kept in contact with in a non-salesy way, in a real authentic way. You would be surprised how many people reach out to me to say like, hey, you're all over the place on Facebook and my friend used you and are you taking on new clients right now? And I'm like, heck yeah, I'm going to take on new clients. Unless you're looking at like land and like in Mount Hood, in which case I'm going to refer you on.
And I'll take that one.
Yeah, you can take that one. Land. So I think that the big piece of it too is that I mentioned earlier about how I'm tagging people whenever we have anything, they have anything to do with the sale or with buyers. I am constantly present on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, both my personal page as well as my business page. I'm answering questions all over the place. So people see my name a lot. And then the other piece of it is that when I'm done with a transaction, we ask for reviews, and you should go and look at my reviews. I'm Aubrey Martin, obviously on Facebook, but I'm Martin Family Real Estate Group. And you should look at my reviews because I'm super proud of them. Because if you read what some of these people write, it's really sort of like deep stuff. And it's because I know them and they know me, even if I didn't know them before. I get to know them through this process of selling and buying, and it's really meaningful to me. So it's definitely a big piece of it. And I keep in touch with them. I have, I used to have more client events. This is a great way to reach out to your clients, not just for the event itself, but before and after. I'm having a Halloween event at Sunset Quarter. And it's on Halloween from 12 to 3 in the parking lot. And we're having a cocoa bar, like a hot cocoa bar. And we're having family photos and like little giveaways and stuff. So in the last 2 weeks, I've been reaching out to all my past clients and all my current clients and all the people that are going to be like in the near future and ask them like, would you like to come? Now, whether they come or not is not really the point. I mean, it'd be great to see them like masked, whatever. Like it's great to see people. But the point is that it's another way for me to reach out to my database. And then once they come or they don't, then after the event, I call them again and I say, thank you so much for coming. What is the best email for you for me to send the photos? And there's going to be a big sign at check-in that says, first of all, 6 feet apart and put your damn mask on, but also tag me, take pictures at this event and tag me on social media for a chance to win a $25 gift card to C's Candies or whatever. Because again, it's tagging me again. It's getting your name out there that matters. It's having a great experience.
How do you ask for reviews and what's the best avenue?
When we, and there's a lot of different ways of doing this. When I give over keys or when we've closed from the listing side, I tell people, Emily, who's my transaction coordinator, who I have been very remiss in not mentioning. Emily is stationed in Sunset Quarter. She's a transaction coordinator. When I hit about 21, 22 transactions, I realized that I can't handle the paperwork and it is not the best usage of my time. Keller Williams talks a lot about leveraging out the stuff that you don't do well, and I do not do paperwork well. She does. The woman is like brilliant. She can handle a million different details in her head. And so Emily has a whole zip file of people's paperwork, right? Like all the things that have happened during the transaction. And she emails that to everybody. Well, in that email, she also sends a link that we've created that says, if you had a great experience, we'd love to hear about it. And here's the link for Aubrey's business page and also Zillow. And then if I don't see anything in the first week or something, then I know them really well. So I message, I'd be like, hey, like, remember about the review, because it's such a huge part of my business. And they do, because they're like friends and they want to see you succeed. So it doesn't have to be a big thing. There are other agents that do it better. They'll be like, can you do a video review of me or whatever? And I wish that I had, for whatever reason, I don't have a smooth way of asking that. And this works fine. So that's the way that I do it.
Closing is another way. When you're at closing, have your escrow officer.
Yeah, we used to be able to go to closings, which we don't really anymore. But yes, closing was the place that I used to do it. And now it's either like at Keys or just depends on if it's a buyer or seller. Using business.
Yeah, are you using personal or business Facebook?
For
your.
Oh, you can't join. Beaverton Moms has to be through personal. You don't want to do that anyway. It's tacky. Like, I don't want to do like Martin Family Real Estate Group and like a regular social group. You know what I mean? Because that just feels like you're selling to people. Like, no, you use your personal page for that. But I definitely have a business page. Yes. But I don't even know that you can do that in those groups. I think you have to join. I don't know. Facebook just updated recently, but you definitely do not want to join like a regular social page as like a business, because it feels kind of creepy.
And can I add? One of the things she talks about moms groups and networking and BNI and all of that. And the key is just to get in front of people. And if you want to, and real estate's supposed to be fun. So when real estate's fun, we had a guy come into town, Jason Abrams.
Love him so much. He has a mouth he's a potty mouth. Love Jason.
And his theory, in one of the stories he told, and I'll never forget this, was the coach, this woman was killing it in business, And he's like,
I know this one. I know this one, right?
I know this
It's
one.
where she was wanting to get out of the real estate business, right? And because
Yep.
she's like, real estate used to be like with a handshake, and I don't like the way that it is now, and I just want to get out. And he said, "What would your family say are your 3 favorite things to do?" Right? And one of them was like tennis, and the other one was like shopping. And I was like, "Oh, that's like a hobby." And then there was something else, but I couldn't remember what it was. And he
The
said,
other one I think was work.
"Oh God, that's not a hobby. That's terrible."
But
Well,
that's
that's
how her
terrible.
kids identified with her.
Terrible. So, but she said, like, go find someone, go ask a friend who likes to play tennis and ask her who her friends are that like to play tennis. And then you guys all play tennis together. But the thing is, do not talk about real estate. That is not your purpose here. This is supposed to be fun. People you connect with, they're supposed to get to know you. And then when real estate comes up with any of their friends, like who the heck else are they going to refer to but you? Right. And it's true. Like if you're a runner, if you're like one of those crazy, what do they call them? Peloton, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. If you're one of those crazy people, go like connect with those people. If you're, if you're a whatever, you like horseback riding,
Find
like
your niche.
whatever it is that you like to do, whatever it is that you like to do. I mean, honestly, I am so busy running my kids around to soccer practice and God knows what else that I don't really have any hobbies anymore. But I do like to talk to moms who like to commiserate with me about how hard life is right now. And so that's why I'm on Beaverton Moms Group. Right. And so it's whatever, but it has to be something genuine. Like I am not going to go join a golf group. 1, boring. 2, terrible. Right. That's not my thing. But there are plenty of people that might be Matt's thing. So that would be, so I'm not saying to go out and join Mob or Beaverton Moms Group or whatever. What I'm saying is that you just have to find a group of people that resonate with you, that you truly like. For example, we're still doing face-to-face. And the way that we do that is we'll take a walk. Like we go over to the nature park that's near Nike, and I'll just go and I'll bring a kid and they'll bring a kid and we just take a walk with masks and everything weird and whatever, but we still do it. Right. And in a safe way, and it's outside and all that. That's going to change pretty soon here in about a month, I think. But in the end, on ALC, which is the Leadership Council, part of my job is to reach out to the folks that are that we're assigned to, our people. And I'll tell you, there were a lot of people at the beginning of COVID who are like, I'm not really going to do real estate until COVID is done. And if you have that attitude, there's going to be nothing for you to come back to. Mm-hmm. Because we are going to take all our unfair share of your business. So it doesn't mean that I do things unsafely. I go in also like I'm, like completely, the mask and the sanitizer and the booties and all that. I do all of that. I have not stopped working since COVID started. COVID is going to be here for a while. I'm not getting political, but I'm just saying it's not going anywhere for a while. So, and you guys that are newer to the industry, you don't know anything different. And the fact is, it really isn't so different. It's not. I mean, I don't go to inspections really anymore. We don't go to signings, but like, so what? Who cares? What we realize is that none of that stuff really mattered anyway. Just because things are different doesn't mean it's worse. That's right. And you just have to figure out how to do things that work for you.
That's to give your clients the warm and fuzzies, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And the realistic part is that the warm and fuzzies it's the inspector's job. He has a job to do that you've entrusted into him for your clients.
And you set that expectation with the inspector not to scare your clients either. The other piece of it too is when we were talking about client events, like I'm doing the Halloween one. Well, the next one I'm doing is a pie event. So it's going to be a drive-by means something different than it does in New York, doesn't it? It'll be like a drive-by pie event.
I don't know.
So we're doing that as an office. But again, it's an opportunity for me to reach out to my clients and say, we're going to be doing pies. And again, I do these through local vendors. I'm not doing this through Costco. I'm doing this through a local vendor. And I say, would you like apple or pumpkin? And then I order it. And then I remind them about it. And then they come and they pick it up. And then I call them to thank them. And you know what I mean? Like it's not about the thing. It's about, number one, coming from a place of contribution and service. And number two is genuinely having relationships with people, like genuine, authentic relationships. And it's just about talking to them. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like sometimes on Mother's Day, I'll drop by like a little pail with seeds, you know, it's like $1.50 at the Dollar Tree. Like, so what? It's the thought that counts, right? Like that's kind of the point, is that it's just an opportunity for us to show them that we appreciate them and to keep talking to them so that you're always at top of mind. All of my legs of lead generation have to do with being top of mind. You know, Brandy was asking, you know, because she's in Beaverton Moms group too. I mean, it takes time. You know, it takes time. I've worked with a lot of families at Beaverton Moms group. And so that's why she sees my name so often. And also because I'm pretty active in there too. And because I'm also posting about things that are not just real estate. On your personal page and on your business page, don't always write about real estate. You know, like otherwise it just seems like you're selling to people all the time. So that's really how I built my business. And I know it seems really sort of simple, but it really was just through, number one, I think the biggest realization I had was at Bold. And Matt, I don't know if you were at this one, the one with Denny Grimes. Were you at that one?
That's the one we met.
Oh, is that the one? I wasn't sure if it was that one or Jake. So the thing, do you remember what it was in Bold that would like, everybody has a big breakthrough in Bold about something about, usually it's personal, sometimes it's business.
My big breakthrough was standing up and telling everybody my wife was my drunk monkey.
Yeah, I remember that. That's why I said his wife is a complete. Mine
And
was that.
wait, real quick. And
Go
for
ahead.
everybody, we're still married.
Yeah,
She
we went
was
like
sitting-
there was a hush across the room because she was standing like right next to him, and we were like, yeah. I was like, dude, you
She's
are dead.
she's the one that says you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. I'm like,
Wow.
I'm the
Heather's
go.
great. Don't let him listen to it. Heather's great. But my thing in Bold the first
Yeah.
year, what I really realized was that when it's if you're not from here, and I don't know how many of you are from here originally.
Everybody type into chat if you're from.
Yeah, are you from? Yeah, I would love to see that. If you're a native Oregonian, let's start there. Okay. I'd love to know where you're from. Oh, nobody's from Korea. That's awesome. Texas, San Diego, Vegas, Pennsylvania. I didn't know you were from Pennsylvania, Jenny. I should have known that. Okay. Yes. Yeah. And Mona, you're from like the true Lebanon, not like Lebanon, right? You're like from the legit country, not like the town, the teeny tiny or sweet home. Okay.
Coast,
So-
Las Vegas.
Bay Area, California. Okay. So the reason I ask this is, number one is, again, the thing that I hear, oh, Connecticut. Cool.
Oh, in Alaska. Nice.
Yeah. The reason I ask this is because number one is that the thing that I hear a lot from new agents is, but I don't have a sphere. Yeah, who cares? It doesn't matter. Like I had no sphere either. It doesn't matter. Like you can make friends. It's fine. You're in real estate. You have to have an outgoing personality. But number two is that I really struggled with this idea that because I wasn't from here and because I talk fast and I have super high energy and I'm not particularly polished, that people weren't going to like me. And I really, talk about my drunk monkey, that is something that really I struggled with big time, especially when I moved back. I'm a Yankees fan, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like the Mariners, sorry. You know, like I was afraid I was too much for people. And it took me that first Bold where I realized like, well, then you know what? That's okay. Then they're just not your people. And just focus on your people because there's so many people out there. Like, why focus your energy on trying to be something that you're not?
There's enough business for everybody.
There is enough business for everybody. And the thing is, it's like, if you and I don't agree on things, or we're not the same kind of person, and I try to mirror and match my clients. If my clients have lower energy, believe me, I'm bringing it down a notch. But in general, like, we have to like and trust each other. And if that's not there, then I'm referring them on. And this is somewhat controversial, but I am 44 years old, and I have come to the conclusion that if you and I do not agree, if you're a service provider or you're a client and we don't agree on something like human rights, I'm not going to be the person for you. I'm not. I don't talk politics with people, but if there's a pretty clear indicator that we are not on the same page with like basic human things, I don't. And I'm pretty clear about it too. And now I'm also at a point in my business where I can do that. And I'm not saying that you should do that. But for me, it has to do with finding people who are my people. And you need to find people who are your people, who share your interests and your values. Doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't, because you are going to find people that appreciate my energy. There are also people who are going to feel like, oh my God, she is like way too much. And you know what? It's fine. It's totally fine. Then I'm going to send them to somebody like Northwesty Chill. That's not me. So it is what it is, right? And once I kind of came to that conclusion, my business exploded. I stopped trying to be somebody I wasn't. I had someone when I first started in real estate who was like, the true measure of success is if you have like 5 Lamborghinis or something, I don't know anything about cars, in your garage. And you know what my success was? I want my kids not to have college loans. I don't want them to be saddled with them like I was, you know, with my degree in 20th century French politics. I'm not joking about that. That is my degree. So like, I don't want them to be saddled with that. That was my level. That was my measure of success. What another real estate person does is not, I am not competitive with Matt. I am not competitive with anybody in my office, in my brokerage, or in real estate. I am completely competitive with myself, but I am not competitive with them. There is more than enough business for everybody. Find what you do well and commit to it. And that is, and I would say that is the most important thing. That is the magic bean, is be consistent and do it at a high level and forget the rest of it. Honestly, forget the rest of it. It doesn't matter. It's just, you're just spinning your wheels.
I would also say, you know, stick to the basics. We do what we're supposed to do every day, then you're not going to have the ebbs and flows, you know, the
Right.
ups and downs of real estate. If you're making calls and why do we put such an emphasis on your contacts? Why do we put such an emphasis on your appointments? Because how many appointments is it to get?
Well, because that's a numbers game. That's a numbers game.
That's a
That's
numbers.
a numbers game. Like it's a
Yeah.
science, right? Is like
Yeah.
you have to talk to a certain amount of people. And then from those, then you have to have a certain amount of appointments. And from those, you're going to get a certain amount of contracts. And from those, you're going to have a certain amount of closings. Like
Exactly.
it's just numbers. And if you're not getting what you need, then your numbers aren't high enough. But whatever it is, you have to find a leg of lead generation that you enjoy, that you like. Because if you don't, you're going to hate it and you're not going to commit to it. So, and it doesn't mean that you're going to find out what that is overnight. You may have to try a couple of things to decide what you like. You know, the class for me, when we first did these in person, was a huge source of business for me, probably 50% of my business, but it's changed now with COVID stuff and Zoom, it's changed. And so now I'm like, okay, I can't put my eggs in that basket. It doesn't mean it's not a big leg of lead generation. It totally is, but let me switch gears to really double down on something that does work better for me right now and has a better return. So that's really what I've got. Matt, I don't know if there was something else you wanted me to cover, but that is really the building of the business piece of it. I was sort of hoping that people would have questions.
No, that's totally fine. I have an odd question for when you say you don't post business. I think we all post business in our own way. My business, my personal page is essentially positive reinforcements and getting people to think in a different way. It doesn't have to be all the chaos, right?
And on my personal page, I will post about like either it'll be like a highlight of another business or like the welcome home thing where people are getting keys, or I'm taking a picture of something that I've seen because I sell throughout Oregon. So if I'm going to go give keys in Yachats, which I did last weekend, and then I took my kids to the Newport Aquarium, which I did right afterwards, I'm taking some pictures along the way. And then I'm doing that, like the things you see on house tours, you know, like I take a picture of a funky doorknob or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be like, who do you know that's interested in buying and selling or investing in real estate? Like blah, 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 blah. You just have to mention that, or in the course of your life, that the real estate will come into it.
Bring people into your life.
Right.
That's what social media is for. I can tell you right now, I can post my son on social media. I'm going to get 100 likes like that.
So you know what even gets even more likes? If you have your kids holding up a sold sign in front of a house that you just sold, because Martin Family Real Estate is me, my husband, and my kids. Like my husband has a full-time job, but he does my websites and he does my marketing and all of that. And he does all my photography and my Matterport, right? So he does all of that. And then my kids help they'll put together client packets for me. They'll put together, bags of my Halloween bags that I have for my event or whatever. Like, it's child labor. It's totally legal and legit, right? Yay. But like, I show that picture of them doing that stuff, and then people are reminded that I'm in real estate without even me asking about or saying anything about real estate.
We all have a different.
Oh, my dog too. Yeah. Buddha is my 14-year-old coonhound mix. He's always traveling with us whenever we do like buyer's tours or go out anywhere. So he's the hound with the head in the background. Like, heck yeah, everybody's getting in on it. Again, like, I'm not paying anybody anything, but like, whatever, it's fine.
My dogs are named Captain and Morgan.
Yep, of course they are. Rum. Okay, so let's open it up for questions. You guys can just talk,
Unmute.
ask. Unmute.
I have a question, Aubrey. When you set appointments, is it simply to have a conversation and get to know that person? How do you set an appointment without talking about real estate?
Are you talking about like with the vendors, like for the Welcome Home Book?
Just to know lead generation.
Oh no, you're talking about, oh no, those appointments are purposeful.
Okay.
That's about real estate. So no, I mean, the ones that I was talking about where you're not talking about real estate, those are the people that are like the service providers and stuff, where I'm not really necessarily talking about mine. What I'm trying to figure out is how can I help their business through my business? But like with other appointments, I mean, if it depends on the kind of appointment it is, but I'm not just having coffee with people just to like shoot the shit. Like, I'm not doing that. Right? Like, like I have friends and I can do that or whatever, but if they're just sort of interested in, what was that?
So you have an agenda, and is it conveyed to the person you're meeting?
Yes.
I would love to meet with you regarding this, and that. And
you always have to set the expectation, but if it's a meeting about someone who's interested in buying a house or selling a house, then the first piece of it before I even meet with them is they need to talk to a lender if it's buying a house. And if it's selling a house, then that's a whole different can of tomatoes. But if they're wanting to buy, then I say, okay, well, I can talk to you about, like, give you a brief overview, but you're not going to go into a whole like appointment with someone who isn't ready yet. And the only way that you know if they're ready is if they talk to a lender first.
So right now I joined Sunset Quarter last month, and I'm a new agent, and I am I'm putting myself out there, trying to connect with people, network. I don't have a sphere. We just moved to the area, and I've resorted to contacting expireds just because of COVID and us not being able to really be out there knocking on doors, and I'm getting stuck where I'm connecting, but how do I set that appointment? How do I, and it's really not necessarily with expireds. I'm also calling people in my neighborhood, neighbors, and just introducing myself, letting them know that I live in the same neighborhood. I'm a real estate agent. If you're looking for housing market information, but I want to say, I don't
even go there. I don't even do that because I would say I don't even do that. Let me ask you a question. Do you have a dog?
Yes, 2.
Do you have children?
Yes.
Okay, that's where you start.
1, he's a teenager.
Oh, same.
I don't have a. He doesn't want to
take him for a walk. No,
take him. But what I'm saying is, it's the way that you connect with your neighbors is on the things that you have in common. Right? Like and you can do things outside. It doesn't mean everything has to be via Zoom, right? Like, we're allowed to do things outside, but maybe I don't know if your dogs are like good with other dogs, but maybe it's like, hey, I'm looking to start a walking club around the neighborhood. Who wants to like, or or if you like to exercise or whatever it is, but like, I'm new to the neighborhood and I'm looking to connect with people. So if that's your question, it's more of that, what Matt and I were talking about Jason Abrams, about finding people that you have something in common with and then building from there. Because if that's what you're talking about, is that if you're new and you have no sphere, then you need to get involved with things with other people that have things in common with you and get together with those people, whether through Zoom or through a walk or whatever else it is. And then in the course of things, it doesn't mean like you don't want to be a secret agent and be like, I'm not going to tell anybody I'm a real estate agent. But let me tell you, like, HGTV would not be as popular as it is if people didn't care about like real estate. Mm-hmm. When I used to be able to go to like my kids' birthday parties, like for their friends, I totally do this, by the way. I do a little market analysis of wherever those people live to make sure that I know like about all the stats in that neighborhood. So that when people are like, oh, what do you do? Like, yeah, I'm with Keller Williams. I'm like, oh my gosh, can you believe the average price in this neighborhood? Like it has like a 1.2 like months of inventory. It's going for like 102% from list to sales price ratio. Like these things are, whatever it is, just know where do you live? Where do you live? Like, where did you just move to?
In Banks.
You're
And
in Banks.
this past Saturday, I went into the local businesses to introduce myself and liked them on Facebook and tagged them. And
You're going to
just
want to go
trying
visit,
get out there to connect.
go visit the new construction at Lennar, right? Go to that neighborhood.
Mhm.
You know, with Banks, it's a small town. You can always do things like pop buys where you just basically have like a card with a little, as I said, like something from the Dollar Tree or whatever it is. But and that's called farming, right? Overall, that has not been my jam. What I find that works is like, hey, you put it on next door, you put it on whatever their community group is, and you say, hey, I'm new to the area. Is anybody know of any sort of like walking groups around the community? I just love to get to know people. People have to get to know you and trust you and like you before they're going to use you, unless you're referred to them by somebody else. I would not put a lot of energy in. It doesn't mean that you don't go introduce yourself to businesses for sure, but I think that there's a more organic way of doing it.
Yeah, I'm just trying different things to see what kind of sticks.
Social stuff is what sticks.
Absolutely.
Tina just said, we have a local dog park that has a Facebook page. Yup. People love to talk about their dogs and their kids. Yup. That's why I owned successful pet stores for 16 years. They like to talk about that stuff. That's what I would do, is connect with people on things that you like. And all that stuff will come out. And by the way, you don't have to tell people like, I'm new to real estate. Like, don't do that. You don't have to. Nobody really is going to, very few people even ask.
Okay.
Don't even have to do that. You can say you're new to the area, but like, don't, because otherwise people are like nervous. So you certainly wouldn't want to lie if they ask, but very few people even ask. It's just the confidence piece of it. You know what I mean? Confidence, by the way, comes from the data. Confidence comes from knowing your stuff about real estate. So go to every class, go to every presentation, learn those TMOs, learn the market stuff. Are you solo or are you on a team?
Solo.
It's fabulous though. Come see me when you're in the office sometime.
I will.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
So our first job is to capture the leads. That way we get them into the database, get their contact information. And like you said, even if they respond or not, once they go in your database, what do they go on? Drip campaign.
Right. And the thing is too, is that like, for example, those businesses that you're going in to see, just go in and say like, hey, and again, come from a place of service, right? All those businesses,
Genuine.
You say like, hey, I'm creating a list of preferred vendors. I'm wondering if it's okay if you have like 15 minutes that we can schedule next week where I can come in and you can talk to me about your business, find out about their business, put them on the list, and then they go in your database. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like come from a place of service to them, not like if you're and mean it, you know what I mean? Because honestly, like if you go into a great coffee shop or do an Instagram post of like, I just had coffee at this great place, like get noticed.
Social media, put yourself out there. And the more you do it, the easier it's going to be. Video is going to be the #1 source of lead generation. Everybody's going to be watching videos.
They do. We have no attention span.
None. And you have 10 to 15 seconds to capture their attention.
All right. What else? What other questions do you guys have?
You guys are doing all of this on your own Facebook page?
Find what works for you.
On personal and business page, but you have to be careful with algorithms. So in other words, you don't want to post the same thing on business as you do on personal at the same time. But yes, for the most part, yes. I was
real quick. Sorry, Aubrey. I was going to say, check in on your business page too. That helps.
I don't have as many. I have a 1,500 friends or something on Facebook. I don't have nearly as many business followers as I do, but I'm also, I created a group that's called Welcome Home PDX, which is basically an extension of my Welcome Home notebook, so that people that have questions about things or are looking for resources or events or whatever are going to my Facebook. And I just created that about 2 weeks ago. And that actually came from Family Reunion. No, Mega Camp that we just went to. It was this, and it's a great suggestion that I started my own community page. I mean, there's nothing that's preventing you from doing any of those things. Brandy asked, oh, Nuri, you can totally come see me too. Do you ever do Facebook Live? I do. I mostly do Facebook Live at a business or Facebook Live at like one of my listings, or if I'm going to see a house or whatever it is. Yeah. So I went to High School of Performing Arts in New York City, which for those of you who are old like me, it was the Fame school, like the show that Fame was based on. So I have like zero compunction about being on video. Like I will make a complete ass of myself and I'm totally fine. It's endearing. So like if you're someone who likes to do video because people like to engage with video. And they'll see it more often for sure. But Facebook Live is a great idea. Yeah.
I have 2 questions. First one, for lenders, like say, you know, one of your clients says, okay, well, who do I use for a lender? How do you choose what lender is best for them?
Such a great question. You have to meet with a bunch of lenders to kind of to figure things out. So lenders from banks or credit unions are generally very kind of specific to just their bank or their credit union. So they're going to have more limited programs. Now, some of their programs are excellent. Like KeyBank has a no money down program. So I wouldn't like discount them, but I tend to more often go with loan, what do you call them? Matt, what do you call them? Brokers. Broker, because they have access to more, just a lot more programs. But in the end, it's not just about what they have, like what programs they have. It's also about how busy are they? Is their underwriting team in-house or is it off-site? Because like your loan officer has to have a really good relationship with their underwriting team. Then the other piece of it too is, you know, what are their, you know, you ask like basic questions, like what are their turnaround times and all that good stuff. But in the end, I need a lender who has a similar sort of energy that I do. And I have 3 different lenders that I work with on a pretty regular basis, but it's determined by, like, for example, I have some lenders that are really good with lenders or clients that are good with lenders who are like in the box. They really can't do like self-employed people. They're not really good at that. Like your big banks, like Bank of America and Chase and Wells Fargo, really good at like your good credit, good W-2 employees, kind of easygoing stuff. But then I have other people that are really good with like self-employed and more complicated things. The person I teach the class with has super high energy and she has a lot of confidence. And so we gel really well together. But she's not the right fit for everybody. Like she's not great for my Intel engineers. I have another guy who's great for my engineer clients because he's not like long on personality, but he's very good at what he does. And he is very to the point, which is what the engineers want. So to a certain extent, number 1, it's programs, but number 2, it's really personality as well. That's how I choose my lenders. And I had to go through a few before I found like my core lenders.
So it's some experience comes into play once you get going.
Yeah, once you get going, but also like there are some lenders that I met when I first started that I'm like, oh, dude, you're a dud. Just because the personality was like, you know, they were so dry. Or, you know, you can tell too, like, are they rescheduling their appointment? Like, do they seem really prepared? I don't know. And then I joined this group, which, oh my gosh, if you're on social media, which everybody should be, and everybody should have a business page, by the way. But you should join this group called Masters in Real Estate. It's a Facebook group that's all real estate agents. And there are some others that are in there too, like there are some like inspectors in there and whatever. But yeah. It's a great, great, great resource group. And you will hear a lot about sort of lenders and escrow. Yes. They're great. Masters in Real Estate.
Okay.
Talk to the real estate agents too and ask them who they like to work with too.
Okay. And my second question really quickly is, so when you run a Facebook ad, when you get your listing, what is it that first of all, about how much do you generally spend on it? How do you determine that? And secondly, what is it in the ad you run? Do you just put the MLS listing on there? What do you say to kind of grab attention?
So for one thing, all of my listings have a personalized website, and on that website are the photos, the video, the Matterport, all the information about the home. And again, one of the benefits of having a husband who is a programmer is that he does that for me. But that being
So
said,
he creates like a single listing website for
That is
all of your
correct.
listings. Okay.
each of the listings. So like 15375 Northwest Marie Way, whatever it is, .com.
Mhm.
And then everything is on that. And so when you link on that, so actually Jenny Martin and I were just talking about this, because she's running an open for me in Gresham on Friday, is as soon as that goes live, when the listing goes live, she will then take that website and it has the preview of the website on there. So it has all the photos and all of that like ready to go. What I'm promoting, generally speaking, are the open houses. In this market, honestly, things go so fast that I'm generally not having to run more than one ad because they usually go in the first 3 or 4 days. But in the ad, I'm saying like new listing, under 400,000, 3-bedroom and great neighborhood in Gresham, $399.9 for a private showing, or for more information, here's, Martin Family Real Estate Group, blah, blah, blah. And then I usually spend around $200 on that. But it's just like a one-time deal for the most part. And then from there, Command picks up the people that are clicking on it for more information, and then is dumping all of their information into Command. And then I'm following up with all of those people. I see that you had interest in my thing, whatever. Are you interested in a private showing? Are you interested in going to the open house? And then the conversation starts from there. I don't get a ton. I mean, I get a bunch of leads. I wouldn't say I get a lot of like really like great leads from that, but they're all going in my database and they're all invited to all of my client events and they're all getting my newsletter. So even if they don't move forward with anything, they're now in my database.
How did you pick the $200? Was that did someone advise that to you, or how did you come up with that number?
It gave me a pretty good widespread of people that were clicking on it, because when I do my Facebook ads, I'm choosing also like for people like in Gresham, I'm generally not going to tag people that are like Cornelius. I'm focusing on the east side mostly and kind of that southeast area. I do this ad usually from Thursday, which is when I go live, until like Monday. And so it's around $40 a day or so. And it just gives me a pretty good return. What I do with my listings, what I include is the Facebook ads, Instagram stuff, the personalized website, the photos, the Matterport, the video, cleaning, and light staging or a staging consult if they already live there. So I'm a pretty full service with my listings. But again, like I'm doing the light staging, the advertising of $200 is really my only cost other than paying Emily, my transaction coordinator.
I did a Facebook ad the other day, and I'm not at your level. I only paid $5 a day to run it. So I paid $25 and I actually got some clicks on it. So for those of you out there listening, don't get discouraged. You don't have to pay $200. You can start out slow and then.
Well, and I'm the listing agent, right? I mean, that's the other thing too, is like, I'm the listing agent here and I've got a very specific thing that I don't do ads on just like me. Like that's the other thing too, is like, it's only about something specific. Like this.
Yeah, I
is
did
about
an open
my
house.
Right. But I mean, I definitely spend on my listings, I spend more. However, when I was hosting other people's open houses, I would spend probably $20, $25 on that, because the idea of having Jenny host my open is that she collects all of those buyer leads, which she should get because she's the one working the event. But as a listing agent though, I do spend a little bit more, but the return on that is also really good, because it's not just about selling that house. It's also, again, about getting your name out there so that people recognize you, and they do that because they see you on Facebook. So that's how I do that piece of it. Cassandra asked, have you noticed less people attending open houses with COVID, or do you feel like they're still equally effective? When you have 1.1 months of inventory, the open houses are still pretty busy. Not in all price points, but generally speaking, in your starter home price points, yes, they're still pretty busy. I do Friday night opens as well as Saturdays and Sundays. And of course, it depends on the time of the year and all that stuff. I would say, 2 months ago, it was probably a little bit slower, but now you have people like lines waiting out the door for opens, because you've got to do social distancing and you've also got to do contact tracing as well. So you have to get everybody's name and phone number when they come in. But no, I mean, Jenny, I don't know. You've done a few recently, right?
Right.
If they're new and they're priced well, I've been very steady.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it just kind of depends, but yes, for the most part, by and large, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think the other thing is a lot of them are coming in with agents
Yeah. Yes.
ready to buy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
What
All right,
is-
we got about 15 minutes left. What other questions do you have?
I have a question. What material do you put in your newsletter? Is it specific to you and your services, or like the houses you have listing, or is there common verbiage that you use or pull every month?
Usually do 3 or 4 topics in the newsletter and keep it kind of brief with lots of photos. Because again, usually I am advertising a listing that I have, as well as an event that I have coming up, because I always have something, whether it's a class or a client event. And then usually something about a community event as well that has nothing to do with me, or about something or something of interest in the community or whatever else it is. But it's usually like an event, a listing, and then a community piece is
And if
usually my 3.
you're a new agent and you don't, you're not in that position, do you have any recommendations on what you could add to a newsletter to?
Community stuff, and also something about the market. People want to know about the market.
96% of people have a cell phone and they all have a home app on them.
They want to know about the market. They want to know, like, like one of the things that I get asked a lot is people are really afraid to sell because they're afraid that they have nothing to buy. They don't want to get stuck where they are selling their house and never know where to go. And so I address things like that, like in a short way, but with in the newsletter, I'll address stuff like that, or a topic that keeps coming up within real estate that people seem to want to know about.
Okay.
How
good
did
to
you
know.
address it?
Pardon me?
How did you address that particular subject?
That concern. There's a couple ways. Number one is when you have your listing, you put right in the listing that it's contingent on the seller finding appropriate housing. So in other words, like that they are going to have to do that. It can be a longer close. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways of doing that. Sometimes they can move into a short-term rental if they have to, or it just depends on what their motivation is for moving. But more times I've not yet had the issue where we couldn't find something for those people, but you always put that in as a kind of a backup of it's contingent on them finding suitable housing.
And it lets buyers know that they have to work with the sellers if they want to buy this house. If they don't,
they do. They want to. Yeah. They definitely want to. 1.1 months of inventory means that like the sellers hold all of the cards.
Mhm.
They do. Also, I want to be where Alicia is. Where are you, Alicia? Where are you?
I am in Phoenix.
That's where I would like to be right now. Thank you. You look very relaxed and very happy.
I
sunny.
am.
I'm
making time for this, but yeah. No, I head home tomorrow.
Looks
been
miserable.
just snowing and cold or whatever it was.
It's
snowing.
Cold and clear. Our sky looks the same as yours, but I will tell you guys also, the seller to find suitable housing is big. If you have listings and your clients don't have anywhere to go, the job is, to protect them. 9 of my first 17 clients were from open houses, from realtors who didn't protect them, and their seller, they were pissed off. No other word. They were pissed off at their listing agent because they were now living in an Airbnb on a monthly basis while they found something. So it was lack of protection, and that's the big thing also with Keller Williams, and that's why we say attend these classes. These classes are beneficial because we're all different. Aubrey and I are completely different. She's a high D.
Totally.
I'm an I.
No, I'm like as high I as I am D.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings me to, if you know your DISC personality, right? As realtors, we all have to have eyes in us because we have to influence people to want to work with us. And how we do that is going to be your own style and your own business. And we're all different. One of the first people I ran into here at KWSC was Noah.
Mm-hmm.
And I come out, I sign up, I introduce myself, and I said, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I'm walking down the hallways doing my R&D." And I said, "Oh, research and development?" He goes, "No." He goes, "I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just going to rip off and duplicate."
Yeah, it sounds like Noah.
That's completely Noah.
Yeah.
But it's having these things is find what works for you. There's a lot of things that do. We need to capture. I talked about capturing for their contact information, but then we need to connect to build the relationship. Okay, I call these the 4 C's. You remember the 4 C's, Aubrey?
No. Mm-mm.
So it's capture, connect, close, and cultivate. So you close to get the appointment, and then you cultivate to build a relationship. You may not have a client that after the first meeting, it may be, 6 months down the road, but how do we stay in front of our people, in front of our database? And that's doing these client events. And we all have differences, right? I'm not going to belong to a mom's group.
I like that you didn't say convert, you said connect.
It's connect. It's all about the connection. And you're not going to connect with everybody.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah, that's totally true.
And that's okay to not, and don't let those discourage you. I find that if I walk away from somebody who wants me to do a 1% listing, it's easier to walk away from deal with the pain that they're going to be through the transaction.
I still refer on for sure, or I just tell people I'm not the right fit, but
and that's exactly it.
So we've got about 9 minutes left. Do you guys have any other questions at all?
I have a question about more about newsletter content. Do you have recommendations for a great, kind of go-to place where you collect, especially content for, I feel like a lot of my sphere are people that are right on the edge of buying their first home, or if they're going to sell, they'd be in their next home. Sure. And I notice a lot of people who own their home, they actually do, like I have at least one person I know who actually does want to move, but they're just, they had a job loss this year, so they're down to one income.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to refinance, which tells me that they could probably get a new home loan. And I think they just don't know that probably if they sold, they could get something nicer with interest rates, et cetera. So just if they're, and maybe it's not that specific, but if there's anything specific to that kind of category of people that are, that are.
I would look at, I would honestly, like on RMLS, they have a link that's Market Action Report, which really goes into sort of the numbers and why we are where we are. And it talks about your absorption rates. It talks about the different communities and how fast things are going and where they were last year. Those are the kinds of things that are really helpful. Because I think if you have to frame out the data for people. So, you have a lot of people that are just on the cusp of wanting to buy a house. This thing about like houses were literally 10% more expensive last year. That house that's $400,000, if you think you can afford that house is going to be $440,000 next year. And the interest rates are probably going to be higher, right? Like you can talk to a lender about breaking down what a mortgage payment looks like as opposed to a rent, right? Like what is the cost of renting in the next 2 years as opposed to the cost of buying where you actually have equity and all of that. So RMLS, have you taken, I don't know where you are like in your journey, but like, have you taken the RMLS classes at this point?
I've personally done the orientation, and I understand that there's so much more to learn about the RMLS. So it's just kind of skimming.
They are great. They are so when you set people up on a search, like for a home, it's through MLS. It's not through Zillow. It's not through Redfin, because they are pulling, those are third-party companies getting information from MLS. So they are like the source. MLS has an enormous amount of excellent information. That Market Action Report comes out every month. But one of those things I was talking about is on that MLS site too, is Hot Sheets. And that can give you that data daily, weekly, monthly, or whatever it is. But just coming up with, here's the pain point of waiting. right? Like giving and then framing out the data. That's what people want. That's what people want to see. Is there an RMLS class? Yeah, I mean, there have been. I don't know, Matt, I don't know where that is right now with COVID and stuff, but yeah, there's tons of MLS classes. I'm sure a lot of them are on Zoom at this
They're
point.
all on Zoom also.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. MLS is good. You have to learn that site inside and out about prospecting and reverse prospecting, all of that. Yes, you should take
They're
those
all the
courses.
time. So yes, Nuri, reach out to me. Let's find a time to connect.
Yeah, you should be taking MLS classes because that's above and beyond KW stuff. But yeah, that is such a good resource for the data piece of it. And it's the data that helps people not be nervous. Nerves are combated by like facts.
I took that orientation recently. So just to throw in the info I learned there, once you take the orientation, then you're eligible to take all of their other courses, and they've got, I was really surprised. I thought that was
Lost her.
Yeah, I see that.
Lost her.
Yeah.
Wait. She went on mute. There we go. Try that. We missed the last part of Tassie. We missed.
Oh, sorry. I have like occasional background noise, including dogs, so I mute myself. But I was just saying, sorry. The last part I was saying was there seems like a class for every little thing that's that every little tool that is in the RMLS. They've got a Zoom course, and there's a schedule in there. So once you do what I learned was once you do the orientation, then you're eligible to sign up for all of those tutorials.
And they have a lot of really good ones. They have an app that they connect with called RPR, Realtors Property Resource, where you can just look up a lot of information on the fly, and they do comparative market analysis reports, and they do all sorts of things. So definitely take your those classes. But what you're asking about is like the uncertainty that people have can be remediated with facts and being able to frame that out so that people know. Honestly, the selling process is pretty straightforward now, and even the buying process is straightforward. The challenge with buyers right now is that there's just so little inventory, and there is a lot of competition, and you have to get creative. It's not just about price. There's a lot of other contingency things and ways to make your offer stronger that have nothing to do with it. Oh, you know what? I should also let me put my information in the chat too.
Other ways that, and when we talk about how do we engage people at open houses, one of the things that I talk about is in a hot market, how do you find properties for your buyers? The biggest problem right now is finding properties for your buyers. Okay. I'm not a fan of door knocking right now with COVID. You could maybe do door hangers. When you get into other types of lead generation, market statistics for the area that you're going to go hang them on,
If you're going to do that, you should also partner with somebody like a lender.
Yep.
Who can print those for you. Don't spend any money. Don't spend any money. Because look, that's what they're there for. When I have events and stuff, my vendors pay for like everything. Well, not the pies. They're not going to pay for the pies.
Yeah,
but
with that.
They do. I mean, my vendors pay for almost everything. That's why I have, I know that it probably doesn't make a lot of sense to you now, but when I say that I'm like 80% profitable, I don't know what the average is, but it's something like 55 or something. It's because you get creative with how you spend your marketing dollars. And I'm very specific about where I spend it. And it's really just, I spend it on my listings because again, that's not just about selling the listing. It's also about getting your name out there to their neighbors so that when they want to list that they remember you. But anything that goes on people's doors or whatever, I have my lender print that up and she pays for that.
Yes, lenders. I did an open house with a food truck. kept that going. But by the end of it, neighbors were coming out and taking the photos of it and sharing it to their neighborhood pages and to their friends. And by the end of the second day, I had 5 lenders that said, I want to be a part of the next one.
Does anybody else have anything else that they want to add, or?
We talked real quick. We talked a little bit about social media and how we get leads. Okay, door knocking is another one. What are other ways we can door knock? We talked about groups. Make it enjoyable to you. Lead generation should be fun, should not be torture.
Right. And that's why this class is called like building your business. This is how I built my business.
Yep.
If you are someone who likes to do those things, then go do those things. If you like farming, just keep in mind that things like farming, and which farming is, putting your, door knockers on in your neighborhood and kind of getting out there and whatever, the return on that is less, because of course, it doesn't cost you anything, but it's a lot more time. And so, but that's how some people are great at that. They're great at being on the phone. I am not. They are great at being out there doing the door knocking or whatever. Like, I am not. But whatever it is for you, whatever those things are, whether you're, I join networking, I join community groups. That's my legs of lead generation. But if that's not yours, then just go find whatever it is and do it at a really high level.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't have anything to talk about.
You don't?
I'm tired of talking, which I never thought would happen, but there you go. I put my information in the chat. So if you guys want to find me on Facebook and do a friend request, you're welcome to it. If you want to sit in on my next homebuyers class, you are welcome to it. That's on the 14th. If you have questions, you just want to ask me offline, that's cool too. I have an office at KW Sunset Corridor, so I'm not there all the time, but if you ever want to meet, I'm happy to do that too. But hopefully the idea of this is that you want to build your business. I built this business to like 70 transactions in like 3 years, and this is really just by doing what I'm doing. So now you go out and you find out what your legs of lead generation are and commit to them at a high level so that you can be at the top of your game. I still have a lot of things that I want to do for next year, but a lot of it has to do with teaching. So I don't know that I'm going to do 70 transactions next year. Maybe it'll be 60. I don't know, like whatever. I'm not really sure yet. But what I do know is that this is I hate to use this word because it's annoying, but like we're in unprecedented times. So I don't know where things are going to go. All I know is that I know what I do well and I commit to them. And you have to have consistency and get people in your database and just talk to people. You just got to talk to people.
Absolutely 100%.
Yeah, you just got to get out there. Well, I'm going to excuse myself if there's nothing else.
Perfect.
I appreciate you guys spending some time with us this afternoon, though.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Sure, my pleasure.
I have a couple of questions, so don't go anywhere. So I'm going to ask them a couple of questions as far as lead gen. What are ways that they want to do? So thank you, Aubrey.
Sure, absolutely. Have a good rest of your day, you guys.
Perfect. So when we talk, and I'm going to get into other avenues. She's, like I said, she's unbelievable. But there's different ways, and I want to make sure that everybody knows, obviously there's other ways to do business. You just have to make it yours. Maybe it's a golf thing. Maybe it's, I don't know, barbecue group. Maybe it's a craft thing. Whatever it is, make it fun so that you're going to enjoy being in this business. We spend a lot of time working, and it doesn't always have to be working. It can be networking. It can be, it's all networking. It's getting in front of people. Does anybody have any other ideas? I mean, your general lead generation, I would tell you this: lead generation is the number one thing you can do in your business. If you don't make phone calls and you don't connect with people, it's going to be a very short year, right? And that's what I want to stress is time block your lead generation. And Put it in your calendar, put it in your schedule, because that's the one thing that's going to make you successful. That's going to help you be successful, is talking to people, being in front of people, and understanding, we're here to help them. This has nothing to do with you. Go to every class you can, gain more knowledge, talk to other agents, go to the classes. For the first 4 months, I went to every class that was possible that I was here and just soaked it all in. That's why I appreciate every single one of you being here. FSBOs, expireds, they're for some people, right? Some people love calling them. Some people love helping somebody who hasn't been able to sell their house because he hasn't found a realtor willing to have a fierce conversation that he's overpriced. That they haven't taken the emotion out of it for him and put them into the minds of a buyer. See, when you sell a house, you have to put the seller into a mind of a buyer and able to sell it. Most sellers overprice their homes because of the emotion and the connection. Show them the tools that realtors have. Have those fierce conversations before they even start. It's a lot easier to do it before you list their house than it is during the transaction. Okay. Anybody have any other questions? When we talk about capture, connect, and close, and cultivate, that's a lot of what Aubrey does. Cultivating is the follow-up. Understanding that there is a way to do this, and she's incorporated. How many businesses do you think she's helped? That's just one way to do it, though. Strengthen your relationships. When we strengthen our relationships, then people want to see you be successful. The difference between successful and not so successful agents growing their successful agents, it's successful agents, they make lead generation a daily habit. They master the skills and the systems and make it a daily habit. And if you feel like you can't do that, then find the resources to do that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I love putting together events, throwing events, but I feel like with COVID, that just makes it so much harder. And then the weather's turning, like what advice do you have?
Okay, so events are great. They keep your community, your database engaged. A lot of people here we used to do Halloween, where we'd have the kids come by the office and you could be a part of it or not, but you could decorate your door into Halloween. You could, and then bring your family by. Some people invited their database to come trick or treat in a safe place. That was okay too. This year, COVID changes the rules. So we're doing you just have to think, how can I stay engaged with my database and stay in front of them and do it safely? So this year we're doing a trunk or treat. Decorate your car, hand out candy, and go from there. Okay. Aubrey's taking a step further and doing another one for her database on Saturday. And then pie giveaways are great for Thanksgiving, and they cost some money. But you put out events where you ask your clients if they want an apple, pumpkin or a pecan pie from Costco, and you deliver them, and you make it that easy where you're just dropping it off and it's safe, and you're still in front of people, right? That was a great one. July 4th picnic, Super Bowl parties, events, whatever your thing is, do it and have a blast. And it doesn't have to be about business. Have fun while you're at it. You're going to have conversations when everybody knows you're in real estate. The next thing you remember, as you do this a while, the next thing you know is you're having a conversation for 3 hours with 20 different people about real estate. One thing I got from Aubrey on this is even if she's going to somewhere with her kids, to become that expert in that neighborhood. That's priceless information. So you can have those conversations. Be the market expert. Know those numbers. RMLS, great tool. Your TMOs, scripts, learn your scripts. When we talk open-ended questions, like I said, my favorite question is tell me more. When somebody asks a question that I'm like, and it still happens to me, right? I still say, tell me more. That way they dive more into it. And this is about your clients and their motivation, where they want to go. How can we get them there? 9 out of my first 17 transactions were from open houses. And it was open houses in a hot market like this, where I talked about the secondary market. When we talk about the secondary market, it's providing an opportunity for people to learn that maybe they don't have to compete. That with technology, you have 2 to 3 weeks to sell your house at full price or above. After that, the market's telling you that it's overpriced. Maybe there's not competition after 3 weeks. Sometimes there is. It's not always the case, but it may be an opportunity for your client to pay list price or below versus above listing. Having those nuggets to provide something of value is perfect. And that's just through technology. That's what buyers have at their fingertips. Bring those ideas, find your strategies, find your numbers. People love numbers. Okay. Understanding. Anyway, so that's essentially it. Our 5 jobs. Does anybody remember the 5 jobs we have as real estate agents? Every time I get in front of you, I'll bring this up so you can remember it.
Lead gen is 1.
Lead generation follow-up
Mhm.
is 2. 3 is set appointments. 4 is scripts, and I would almost put scripts ahead of lead gen, so we're prepared for our lead generation, which, by the way, happens every morning at 8:20 on my Zoom page. Shameless plug. And scripts is a horrible word for it, but what we do is we give you the knowledge to go out and have the conversation with your database. We role play. We go back and forth with each other. 8:20 in the morning. The link is in your ASD email that comes to your email at 8 o'clock. Nuri, you probably don't get it because you are new or waiting to pull in your license. So I will send you a link to that. But it's a way that we can talk, way that we can have better conversations with our database. Okay, we set appointments. So I would do it in this order: scripts, lead generation follow-up, set appointments. If we do those 4 things, we're going to negotiate contracts. It's pretty easy, right? And simplifying it. Don't overloading yourself.
Hey, quick question, Matt.
Hey,
So for me, I have some leads that I've stayed in contact with, and here recently I started dialing again yesterday. So I've contacted some leads that I haven't set an appointment with, but I have a pretty good phone relationship with them. Should I try to set an appointment? But if they're not ready to buy now, what good is the appointment? Does that make sense?
Oh, perfect. The biggest thing is, yes, you should try to get an appointment. Why? Because if they're willing to take the appointment, if they're willing to take the appointment and build, then you can decide what's their motivation. What is their what's their plan? And they may not have a plan. They may want to buy a house, but they just don't know how to do it. So bringing them in and having them talk to you about it, you can formulate your plan. The first thing you need to do is get approved through a lender. I have lenders that I work with that are great. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 options so you can decide which one's best for you. I always lead with the one I think is going to be the best fit for them, matching their personalities. Okay, not having that appointment, 87% of people after an appointment think you're the professional. Okay. And then they don't need to go find somebody else because Jamar's their guy. Does that make sense? They now see you as the professional.
Correct. That makes sense. Okay.
Okay. So if they're willing to,
sorry, my kids.
If they're willing to meet you, then it's a whole different ballgame. They're quicker along than you. I mean, they're further along than you think, or they're ready to devise a plan. There's times where I meet people that I have to send them to a lender, and they have to get their credit fixed. It's going to take six months to a year, and then I just follow up with them on a monthly. Hey, I just want to check in, see how things are going. Are you following everything? And sometimes they've fallen off, sometimes they haven't. As long as you're there and in front of them, then you're their professional.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else have anything? Real quick, I wanted to cover another thing. New to the area. Lead generation ensures that not only will you get business quickly, but when done constantly, it will also ensure a steady stream of business, right? So you want to get your leads, your appointments, leads to your agreements, and your contracts, which leads to everybody's favorite, payday. And that's big, right? We are in a business. Questions, connecting questions. Anybody have any examples? We talk about Ford. Calling to connect with people and asking them how they're doing. Ask about their family, their occupation, their recreation, and their dreams. It changes the relationships and how you and how you connect with them. Assess their wants, their needs and their plans. What are you looking for? What do you want to do? Pinpoint their location. Where would they like to buy? Where is the home located? Okay. Determine why are you moving? Get a feel for their timeline. When would you like to do this? And assess their expectations. How do you plan to do this? And then, of course, close. Hey, I've really enjoyed visiting with you. When would you like to get together to discuss this further? Can we meet today or tomorrow? Does 3 o'clock today work or does 5 o'clock tomorrow work? Go by your schedule, right? The hard close. When would you like to meet? Always a good one is, would you be offended if I ask if we could meet to go over your plan? So wouldn't it make sense for us to meet in the next day or so? Because we're here to help. We're genuine and we're coming from contribution. All of these things are what make us great. That's what makes us who we are and why people want to work with us. Set the appointments. 7 appointments a week is your way to $1 million. Not that money's everything. Time block your appointments. Lead gen, lead gen, lead gen, lead gen. Your contacts. How many contacts? And I'm pumped up after I make phone calls. It's the best thing, right? So it's been a long class. That was some few nuggets that everybody's different. And we bring on other instructors basically to find ways that they're successful. How many people want to do 70 transactions in a year? Type a 1. Type a 1 in the chat box if you want to do 70 transactions in a year. Does that sound exhausting?
In a good way, in that like good problem kind of way.
That's exactly it.
It definitely sounds exhausting, I was going to say.
You know, I said
and their support. She has Aubrey has the transaction coordinator and
leverage. Keep going, but you're right.
Good. No, that was saying that's, it takes a village.
So, it does. Everybody here, every one of your offices, you have the support that you need to do what you need to do what you want to do. But it's up to you to engage in the office. Tina, great. 50 is enough for me. I sat down with a MAPS coach after my first year in the business, and I more than doubled my business. Had 5 people in my downline, so I was helping people on their way in their real estate career. And the MAPS coach asked me, why so? Here I thought I was doing great, but they put me on a target for why was I limiting my thinking? Why stop there? The more that you do, the more people you help.
I've never heard of a MAPS coach until today when Aubrey brought it up.
Mm-hmm. They will hold you accountable, and they do your 411s. And that's kind of like
through Keller Williams?
It is, but
Oh.
it's extra coaching and it's a fee. But it's, I would get through your productivity, get through this, and then evaluate and work on it with your coach.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. I was just,
Growth plan you want to be on, but they're great at holding you accountable. Here's your 411, 135. You know, all of those things as we build in, right? What does business look like? Anybody have any questions? Ask for the close, ask for the business. My listing presentation, I asked for the business 4 times, at least 4 times. So when you list with me, here's some paperwork, here's some seller's disclosure. So when you list with me, our time is spent. I know your time is valuable, right? So we talk about these things. How can we come from contribution? You can talk a long time in this business. Yes. And I like the idea of working smarter. How many people can help? Like I said, I wasn't able to do this myself. This was about, it was an effort. It was people who opened their hearts and opened their minds and helped me get to where I am. Your offices are open. People are in here every day. The ones that are taking the business, each one, you know, everybody's staffed. If you have questions, you have productivity coaches, we're all a resource. Okay. We're back to that secret agent. If you're going to sit around and make everybody else call you, they don't know you're here from contribution. They don't know that your passion is helping people with their number one investment. Is the housing market a safer investment than the stock market right now? Probably. Build your relationships with your investment. Find an investment guy. Do the 4 corners. The what is it? The insurance, the lender, realtor, and what was the 4th one? Who's got the 4th one? She had realtor, lender, insurance, and title and escrow. Well, yeah, you can do title and investment advisor. Yeah, it's the one I was just talking about. So those 4 are great pillars, but then you can build them as much as you want, wherever you want. Thanks, Nassim. Carrie, yes, just shoot me a text and we'll schedule a meeting. I do have scripts after this. So as you guys know, I've added, because of homeschooling, I've added scripts to this for an afternoon class. And I will post that in the afternoon. This week is TMOs. And I will type in my Zoom number so that you can all join if you want to, or you may be Zoomed out after this. I don't get a choice. It's not that I don't get a choice. I love being here for you guys. And this is the meeting every morning at 8:20. This is the meeting room. That's at 8:20 and 4 o'clock every Tuesday through Friday. To open up your Zoom app, say you want to join a meeting, and type in the 526-049-8196. Okay. I'm going to go, if anybody doesn't have any questions.
I have one question real quick.
Okay.
So my question is, I know it's been suggested to add your Spear into your database, all your close contacts, and Facebook, we've mentioned Facebook. What is another effective way of being in front of people, or getting in front of people, if you already have exhausted your Spear and tried to go the Facebook route as far as generating leads?
I was going to say social media, but social media is a misnomer. Okay. Can you be successful in real estate without social media?
Ask the question again. I'm sorry.
Can you be successful in real estate without having social media?
Yes.
It's more about connecting.
Correct.
Right. And that's calling your old friends. Some of the best things that I do is just text a friend and say, hey, you got time for coffee this week?
Okay.
Okay. And so exhausting your leads should never, because there's always time to connect and let people know, or start a group, start something you enjoy. If you're passionate about, technology, or you're passionate about whatever. What are you passionate about, Jamar?
I don't know. I like to do a lot of different things. I just started learning how to play chess. I wouldn't say I'm passionate about it, but in pastime, I like to play chess. So I'm learning the game.
Oh.
So, but I wouldn't say, hey, I'm a master and I now, can relate to people who've been playing for 10 to 15 years.
Start a chess club.
Okay.
You get together for anybody interested in starting a chess club with me, we're going to meet once a week at the same time.
And then go that route.
So do something that you enjoy, that gives you, I listened to a guy this morning, he said, take 60 minutes to yourself. 60 minutes to yourself daily, but also spend 15 minutes the night before planning your day for the next day so you're most successful. If anybody was on Ben Kenny this morning, he was amazing. Okay. That Zoom was great, right? He is and I'll tell you a mega camp story. I went to mega camp, done family reunion. And you just make those things work because you get to hear, and we're privileged because we have Chris and Ben here, right? But I have to tell you, when they were speaking at Mega Camp, they are a US, they are a phenomenon across the Keller, not only the Keller Williams network, but also the real estate industry. And when I found out those two were going to be speaking together, I was in line at their auditorium an hour and a half early. Just because what they have is so inspiring, what they do, how they do it, I find fascinating. If I can take any one nugget every time I listen to them, then I'm going to be better. I'm going to be a better realtor. I'm going to be a better businessman. I'm going to be a better father. I'm going to be a better person. And that's what it's all about. Okay. All right. So tomorrow, what are the plans for tomorrow? Next class is next Monday. And then tomorrow is not necessarily is for everyone, but, and I'm not sure who's teaching tomorrow, but 1 o'clock, same thing, 1 to 3 tomorrow. Anybody has any questions? If not, I will let you go. Okay. Have a great day, everybody. Make it best.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Yep. Talk to you later. Bye.
happening.
Just a second.
And I saw you on the series, so I didn't open it.
Oh. Real quick.